I do a lot of talking on these videos we make. But today, I'm gonna let someone else do the talking. I went down to Baltimore to meet Tony Harrison, owner of the Jurasic Pork food truck, which MSN.com just called some of America's best barbecue. But I'm gonna shut up and let Tony tell you the tale of how he got here. It's one of the most stunning entrepreneurial stories I've ever heard.
There he is!
What's going on, Mike?
What's up, man? What's going on, buddy? This is it!
This is it.
Who's this guy? Who's this guy? Butchie, what's up, brother?
Butchie's been with
What's up, brother?
me for a while.
What's going on?
Carl's been with me since he was his whole life.
Tell me how it started up and then how we got here.
From the start to here.
Yeah.
All right, look, this is the whole story then.
Yeah.
My dad was a drunk, and he was really good at it. And in fact, he ended up killing his second wife. So I grew up in that sort of maelstrom. I had an incident where I set the house on fire, and I left when I was 14. And I spent the summer with my grandfather. I'm supposed to go to my mom's house in England. My grandfather buys me a ticket on the plane. So I ran away, and I lived in London, and you could go to the back of hotels and get a job washing dishes by the day. And so one day the chef, Paul Bocuse, who's quite a famous chef now, said, "You want to do this apprenticeship we have for chefs?" I said, "Absolutely not." He said, "Well, you get to live in the hotel." And I said, "I'm in." Fast forward, I came back to America when I was 20. So I got arrested with a bunch of cocaine, like a half a kilo.
Okay.
Somehow they gave me probation. And I'm like, I gotta leave town, I'm not doing probation. So I stole a car, and I stole some coke from these other guys, and we made it to Baltimore. Coke ran out, I needed a job, and there was a restaurant called Pinocchio's. And I walked in and I said, "You don't have anyone in here that can do a better job than me. Let me work for you for a day for free." He said, "All right, you can work in the kitchen." And I ended up being partners with him in that restaurant. Booze and drugs always got in my way.
Yeah.
You know, whatever I build up, I'd explode it with booze and drugs. I end up tapping out in Baltimore. I blew the restaurant. I was working down on the block as a bartender in a brothel, and my friend owned a yacht named the Scooby-Doo. So I got him to write me a letter of reference, and I went and I got a job on Adnan Khashoggi's yacht as his chef on Nabila, which then became the Trump Princess. I worked there for a while. I worked for Sade on Smooth Operators. I worked for Phil Collins, Norma Heyman. I worked for all these celebrities, and of course, I ended up working on David Bowie's yacht, the Galaxy Star.
Who's got a story like this?
So I stayed on the yachts for about 4 years, drank it away. I came back to America and went back to the block, Baltimore block, working in the strip clubs, again spiraling. I started doing heroin. 3 months later, I was living underneath the Holocaust Memorial in downtown Baltimore, strung out. I ended up going to prison for 20 years, armed robberies. The judge said, "Mr. Harrison, you're human garbage, and I wish I could give you life." I spent 2.5 years in city jail. I was stabbed 4 different times, flown out of there in a helicopter to shock trauma. I still wasn't sober. I was getting weed and booze and all that. I didn't get sober or change a bit. In fact, I got worse the first 4 years I was in prison. And then one day, and I'm on lockup, hungover, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna kill myself. In a million years, I never prayed about anything. I'm gonna get on my knees and I'm gonna say a prayer. And I'm gonna ask God for help. That's all I'm gonna do. And everything changed. When I came off lockup, I'm in the library and I see this book, Og Mandino, World's Greatest Salesman. I don't wanna be a salesman. Put it back on the shelf, and I'm about to turn away, and the book jumps off the shelf and lands on my foot. And that book, it has these 12 principles. And the first one is, every time you meet somebody, you tell them from inside that you love them. I got out of prison, and there's a guy, and he looked just like you. And he was the manager of Ruth Chris down at the Inner Harbor. And I go up to him and I says, "Hey, can I get a job? I'll be here before anybody else. I'll leave after everybody else. I'll smile all day. I'll do whatever you tell me, and I never won't show up."
And you were sober. This is you.
I was sober 3 years at that point. And he was like, "You're hired." And I started going to these meetings, right? And I started learning about how to be kind, decent, and I wanted to open a halfway house. So I walk outside my apartment one day, and there's these 2 guys talking, and they're like, "Oh, we own this building." I was like, "Yeah? You got any buildings that you own that you can't do anything with, that are costing you money, that are abandoned?" And they're like, "We got a ton of them." I said, "How about you give me one, I'll fix it up and buy it in 6 months, and if I don't buy it, you'll get it back fixed up." And they're like, "Who the are you? We drove to a house and I'm like, to me, it's a mansion, right? There's crackheads living in it. There's no plumbing. So I said, I'll take it. And about 6 months later, I started moving drug addicts and alcoholics that had just gotten out of prison in. I ended up having 5 halfway houses, worked with that population for 15 years. Our recovery rate for 1 year clean and sober was 20 times higher than the national average.
Is that right?
And today, most of my friends, most of the people you meet that will be working with me are people that came through Changing Directions was my company and got a life back out of the deal.
If you're born into a product that you were born into, which was just awful, I mean, hell, no one should live like you lived when you were a kid. So that's what you knew. It was learned behavior.
Yeah.
And then once you figured out, hey man, that doesn't have to be my life. You can go 180, right? I mean, you can turn that needle all the way, and that's what you did.
You know, they say that if you work hard, you don't need so much luck. But I was working hard and I was lucky.
Yeah. How do we get here?
I learned how to do barbecue in prison. One of the officers was an old guy from the South, and he did great barbecue. And so I was able to sort of learn some technique from him, combine it with my actual culinary skills. So I started a barbecue truck to sort of do little work, like get people that never had a job before and teach them how to look someone in the eye and shake their hand. Hey man, good to see you.
Right. So how old are you now?
56.
56. What's next? Where are you going next?
I don't know. I'm here today. I got this moment right now. And you know what? Whatever's going on in Afghanistan and Helsinki and where, I don't know what to do about all that, but I do know that if I see somebody over there that's hurting, and I say to them, we do it all the time. Hey man, come on over, you want a sandwich? And it starts a conversation.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I can't believe it.
You hungry?
Now I want to try some food.
So, hey Carl, can we get a kielbasa with bacon marmalade and the beef bacon brisket bourbon, T-Rex, right? Yeah, fry up a couple orders of pop. You guys are hungry too? All right, fry up a couple orders of pop.
So, where'd this menu come from? What inspired this?
This is what's crazy. I make my menus up.